I'm your host, Rod Wilden. I'm the Executive Director of Penn Northwest Development Corporation, and we are Mercer County, Pennsylvania's certified economic development organization. Our motto is Make It in Mercer County, and our role is to create low-cost financing solutions for recruiting, retaining, and growing jobs and business opportunities in every corner of our county. The sole purpose of this program is to showcase people and organizations that are making things happen here. We interview them to find out why they have chosen Mercer County, Pennsylvania as a great place to live, work, and play. We are producing this show in conjunction with Thiel College students, faculty, and staff, and we're coming to you from the state-of-the-art TV radio studios in the James Pettis Communications Center on Thiel's campus in Greenville. If you'd like to connect with our Improvement Movement team to see how you can make it in Mercer County, please visit our website at penn-northwest.com, or please give us a call at 724-662-3705. You can also find us on YouTube by searching Penn Northwest Development Corp, or connect with us on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. We hope you enjoy this edition of Discover Mercer County Business. Today we welcome Jonathan Steenland from ForceNow Cybersecurity. Jonathan, good to have you here, man. All the way from Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Absolutely. I think I brought some of the colder weather the last couple of days with me. So
well, we'll forgive you. We'll forgive you for that. We are recording here at the end of April, and yesterday was like the end of December, I think.
Yeah, it did feel like that.
Well, let's talk some cybersecurity. You've got an exciting new program that you're pursuing here with some partners in Mercer County, Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania Cybersecurity Center of Excellence that you're creating at Linden Point and Hermitage. So just walk us through the history of that.
Yeah.
Where the idea came from and how over the last year you've launched this business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the original idea came from a gentleman, Jeff Meyer, who is the executive director at the Linden Point Development Corporation, an individual that I had the pleasure of meeting 20 some odd years ago when we worked together at Fujitsu. He recently retired as the Chief Information Officer for all of Fujitsu North America, and really came back to his hometown in Sharon, PA to make a difference. And he's making a difference, I believe, in a big way at the Linden Point Development Corporation, partnering with individuals and entities like Thiel College and numerous high schools and other colleges locally. And so he tapped me on the shoulder last year, summertime, and said, hey, I think cybersecurity would be a really good fit for Mercer County region and for creating high-paying jobs and really stopping the brain drain from happening. And he said, could you do a little bit of consulting with me, help get this thing launched with a team of some other individuals? And I said, absolutely, Jeff. Anything for you.
Right. Those long-time friendships and business relationships, you can draw on those a million times during your lifetime. That's awesome. Why cybersecurity? Why did you settle on this as the thing to work on?
Well, first of all, I mean, it's something that we've had experience with. I mean, I've been doing cybersecurity my entire career, over 20 years. Jeff Meyer obviously has been doing it as well and is familiar with it. But because of COVID especially, the acceptance for remote jobs has just skyrocketed. Now, that has not been anything new for cybersecurity. Cybersecurity has been a great field for working virtually since the very beginning, as long as I've been doing it. But COVID has just really amplified that. And so I believe that rural areas in the U.S. are prime candidates for creating high-paying jobs, and cybersecurity can be just one of the pathways that I call freedom of movement to anywhere.
That's fantastic, and I'll tell you, I didn't realize, and I've been a victim of a cyber attack. Thankfully, knock on wood, when I got attacked, Bitcoin was only like $16, $18, so they wanted 100 Bitcoin from me to release my files about 10 years ago. I think I was telling you I couldn't even find a Bitcoin in Pittsburgh. I had to have somebody buy some from the Bank of America in Washington, D.C., because even B of A wasn't in Pittsburgh yet. So, I mean, I've had that experience of opening up my computer and having it basically be absconded. Everything was gone.
Yep.
How big is this threat? You've brought and we're going to show on our screen here the PowerPoint presentation, but I think you always start the presentation by letting folks know just kind of how big the threat is. So, we'll have the ability to change the slides and things on the screen here, but you and I started on this presentation earlier today just to get a flavor for what we're going to talk about here
Yeah.
this afternoon. But how big is this threat? Because you said a very high number of businesses are going to get attacked at some point or another.
They are. I mean, at a macro level, according to the FBI, there's more money made in cybercrime than there is in drug trafficking. So I mean, that should tell you something right there.
Wait, say that again. More money made in cyber attacks than there are in the drug trade.
Yep.
We're talking billions upon billions. Trillions of dollars.
Trillions. Yeah. Yeah. Some people have referred to it as the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. When you consider loss of intellectual property, businesses being shut down. But let me just give you some statistics that are current and relevant. So the new target right now is small businesses. And in fact, 68% of small businesses were hit with a cyber attack last year.
Is that just because they have not yet invested or been contacted by a ForceNow person or someone like you to tell them how important it is?
It is. And, historically, they haven't been as big of a target. Crime follows money, right? And so the big banks and governments were really the first initial targets. But I remember the day when even the big guys would scratch their head and say, I'm not a target. Why would this ever happen to me? Those days are long behind us.
Until it did, right?
When you look at Bank of America.
It's never going to happen to me until it does.
Absolutely. I mean, they have almost unlimited budgets because they now recognize the impact to their bottom line if they get hit, whether that's from revenue or brand recognition. What we've seen happen over the last 3-4 years is a significant movement of targeting the small guys in the supply chain perspective.
Because the larger guys have kind of gotten religion, so they're protecting themselves more? Is that why?
It is. And, it's like the old joke goes, you don't have to be faster than the bear. You just need to be faster than the other
side. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So really that at the end of the day is
so
what
they're working their way down, almost down the food chain.
Yeah. And there are a handful of attacks that are systemic and are just, hitting these companies left and right. Ransomware is a big one. But there's now a new twist on it called double ransomware extortion.
So ransomware
what you dealt with.
That's what I dealt with.
Yeah.
They grab my files and hold them for ransom.
Yeah.
They want paid in an untraceable form of currency.
Yeah. Or so they think. Yeah.
And then you pay up or you're out of business.
Absolutely. And so enough people have become victims 1, 2, 3 times or more to this, that people are actually starting to back up their data and be able to recover it. And so what the bad guys have done to figure out how to secure their investment is to do a double extortions, which is prior to locking up all your data, they'll actually exfiltrate it, send it out to their website, and then threaten to release all your client sensitive information. And for law firms, CPAs, anybody that has a lot of really juicy, sensitive customer information, that's a nightmare scenario.
So talk about some of those statistics about, you said 68% of businesses
68% are getting hit with some sort of broad umbrella of cybersecurity attacks. Within that, I mentioned ransomware makes up one of the biggest ones at the moment, and that's about 47% of companies who get hit with a cyber attack are getting hit. Almost 50% of those are ransomware attacks, and the costs have gone way up from what you dealt with. How much did you say you paid?
I paid $1,600, the equivalent, in Bitcoin at the time. Now, Bitcoin wasn't $30,000 a token then.
Yeah, so I think that was you could say that was the startup stage of the cyber criminal ransomware as a service business model, because they're now charging an average of $120,000, and it can be up to over $1 million. And we've seen some larger cases where it's been double-digit millions. So it's a big deal, and the impact that this is having on the small guys is very different than it would have on a Fortune 100 bank.
Is the insurance against that difficult to get?
Well, it hasn't been historically, and that's a really interesting trend that we're seeing. I believe for a long time that insurance is at some point going to be a key driver for people adopting cybersecurity best practices to protect their businesses. It's been slow, and to be honest with you, the insurance company to date has been a little bit part of the problem. And here's the reason why. It's because it's just business 101. It's when these companies get hit, the attackers are smart enough to know that they need to keep their ransomware demands under a certain threshold, right? For a variety of different reasons. And so historically to date, insurance companies and business owners have decided that it's more cost effective and more efficient from a getting back to business perspective just to pay the ransom.
Rather than tapping their insurance.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. And so, instead of paying, $1 million to come in and do a full cleanup after somebody has come in and done scorched the earth campaign, which we saw happen with Sony Entertainment a number of years ago. Just why not pay $100,000 in the ransom they want? And you think you're all done, but most of the time you're not. Most of the time you're putting on the hit next list.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you unsubscribe from a website and then they turn around and sell your email address anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
it never
you got to remember who you're dealing with. I mean, these are organized a lot of times criminal organizations who, they're not going anywhere. They're very good.
They're
at
not
what
the
they do.
one-off hackers sitting in the basement.
They're not. No, in fact, the funny thing is, I remember when I got started in cybersecurity 20-some years ago, was in the Department of Defense, and we used to make fun of these type of attacks. We would see emails get floated around by people saying, "Be careful, don't click on this link, otherwise all your data is going to be encrypted." We say, "Silly boy, silly girl, that's not even feasible." Well, that's exactly what's happening now, and the impact on these small businesses. From a financial perspective and from a business sustainability perspective is huge. 37% of the small businesses that are getting hit, which again, 68% are getting hit with some sort of cyber attack.
So 37 of the 68%
are getting hit with significant financial losses. 25% are filing for bankruptcy, and almost 10% are flatline, never coming back,
Wiped
out
out.
of business, wiped out. And when you consider the economic impact that can have on a region, on a country, that's a lot of jobs. Considering the fact that according to the Small Business Association, there are over 30 million small businesses with less than 500 employees. In the U.S. It represents a massive part of our GDP.
So how does that tie back into what's going on in Hermitage at the Pennsylvania Cybersecurity Center of Excellence? What are we doing about it? We're obviously doing something. You're traveling two-thirds of the way around the country to launch this. So tell our viewers what's happening now. Where are we? We have our first cohort being trained to either keep these attacks from happening or helping unwind them when they do, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, we are no different than every other business out there that is trying to find talent. We knew that when we started the company that my business partner Hank and I started 2 years ago called ForceNow. And so we are really trying to serve the underserved, the small businesses with less than 500 employees. And the way that we're doing that, one of the ways, is that we are really focused on developing the next generation of cybersecurity professionals.
So you're basically, instead of going out and recruiting a bunch of, you're building them the way you want them. You're educating them the way you want them to be educated to implement the program that you have found that works the best to combat this.
Absolutely, and we really want to give them hands-on, real-world paid experience, whether that looks like an internship, an apprenticeship, or a fractional part-time job. We realize that not all of them will stay with us for years. It may just be for a season while they're still a high school student or a college student or a transitioning veteran. But globally, there are 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs, 600,000 alone in the U.S. and thousands just here in Pennsylvania. And so we are very passionate at ForceNow about working with community partners like the Linden Point Development Corporation to stand up these centers of excellence like the Pennsylvania Cybersecurity Center, and expose career pathways in cybersecurity to high school students, college students, and working professionals, and see if they're interested.
So you can actually be a high school student, get this certification, get this training, be a college student, get this certification and training along with your 4-year degree, and immediately go into the cybersecurity workforce.
Absolutely.
And what is the range of, if I have this level of certification to where if I had this level of certification, what is that salary range in 2022 numbers?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the average national starting salary without a 4-year degree program, believe it or not, is in the 80s and 90s for a cybersecurity professional. The biggest misconception that I have to knock out when I talk to college students and high school students is, what does it take to get into this? Once they realize that it doesn't just look like what they've seen on Mr. Robot and HBO, that it's some white guy in a hoodie in his mother's basement, that there's a diverse opportunity, especially with females, to get into cybersecurity. That the next question is, well, I thought I needed a 4-year degree in computer science, and for some jobs, yes, you do, but for the majority of entry-level cybersecurity jobs, you do not. What we are providing through the Pennsylvania Cybersecurity Center is industry-recognized certification, CompTIA, Network Plus, Security Plus, Cisco courses, et cetera, that once they complete that, there are a lot of employers who are, like us, very hungry to gobble these kids up and put them to work.
And that's where ForceNow picks them up. So the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence trains them, whether they're adults, college kids, high school kids, kind of a vocational training. And then ForceNow picks them up and provides these services to your target audience, which is that 500 employees and below. And those are typically businesses that don't have a chief information officer, or you're stepping in and taking that role?
Yeah, in fact, a lot of them don't even have IT in general. They don't have managed service providers, or especially when you look under 20 employees. So it all starts with education. What are some of the best practices that these small businesses can implement? And we provide that to them. But then ultimately what they really need is no different than what the large, big guys have, which is a team of cybersecurity professionals. Unfortunately, it doesn't make sense for companies with less than 500 employees to hire a team of 12 people to work 24/7 and monitor the security of their devices or networks. I mean, it simply doesn't. So that subset of customers it really makes sense for them to work with a third party like us or somebody else that's bringing those same capabilities to bear to them.
And you have a pricing model that seems to be accepted in the marketplace. I mean, it doesn't seem to be that out of reach for most business owners to be able to use your ForceNow products, correct?
It is, and so we've tried to bundle it very similar to LifeLock. I mean, it's a more of a SaaS-based subscription model where we start with what we call Force Essential, as low as $19 a month. And in that model, we deploy some of the best technology that is available today, and then we provide our teams of humans working 24/7 to really make sure that there's what we call a nice little security blanket around that device or employee.
Well, one of the things before we had to break that you told me about in preparation for our visit today is that people think that cyber crimes are machines, but it's really not. It's just a person-on-person crime, just like an act of violence is or anything else.
It is. It is. I mean, this is probably the second misconception.
The technology is the weapon, right?
The technology is what's used in the middle. I mean, on both ends, there is a human attacking another human who is trying to defend, and they're just using technology in the middle. And so, if the only thing you're doing is hoping, praying that there's going to be a technology silver bullet that you can deploy and set and forget, and that is your security program, then you've got some holes in it. You need the humans.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Jonathan, we're going to take a quick break. Our viewers are going to watch a video about Penn Northwest and some of the initiatives that we're undertaking, and we'll be right back with Jonathan Steenland from ForceNow Cybersecurity.
Is your company looking to expand and grow? Then Mercer County, Pennsylvania is the right place for you. Whether your company is involved in manufacturing, technology, logistics, health, or business services, shale gas exploration, or retail, we can help. Mercer County, Pennsylvania offers low-cost land, valuable infrastructure, a quality labor force, and the right financial tools to make your corporate expansion an affordable reality. Mercer County is only a day's drive to major markets including Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Buffalo, New York City, Chicago, and even southern Canada. Companies like GE Transportation, Joy Cone Company choose to make it in Mercer County, and Penn Northwest wants to show you how your company can also make it in Mercer County too. Our team of experts will help you expand and save dollars. How does Penn Northwest do it? How does Penn Northwest save companies so much money? With a combination of low-interest loans, grants and credits, tax abatements, and even tax-free property. Here's the best part. Penn Northwest will do most of the work for you. Just click on the button below and get the process started. Or you can first get an idea of how your organization can make it in Mercer County by using the savings estimator located at makeitinmercercounty.com. You'll see that expanding your business in Mercer County, Pennsylvania is the move that makes the most dollars and cents. Call Penn Northwest Development Corporation at 724-662-3705 for more information.
We are back on Discover Mercer County Business. We're very fortunate to have Jonathan Steenland with us from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and his ForceNow Cybersecurity company, talking about the Pennsylvania Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. So you've got your first cohort underway. You've got some college kids and you got some high school kids, and you're putting them through your certification training programs. And what have you learned so far?
Quite a bit. First of all, going into this program, just like launching any new startup, your big question is there a market for it? Is there appetite? Is there local desire? And so, we put it out there to our partners like Teal and high schools and Penn State and Westminster that we would limit it to 30 seats. And almost immediately we had 34 people sign up.
Oh, fantastic.
So, boom, we can check that box.
Check that one.
So that was good. What we have learned is now that we're getting close to the end of this first pilot semester, is that we need to work in a different capacity with college students versus high school students.
In what way? We were talking a little bit about this being post-COVID era, but in what way? I think you were saying the college kids are maybe a little more attuned to having assignments due at a certain day and time and working on their own to get there, where maybe the high school kids need a more traditional
classroom experience.
Okay.
Yeah. We certainly did that. So we started off with the pilot being pretty much self-paced with lab hours with a real facilitator, real teacher, instructor available 2 times a week. As expected, the college students did really well because that synchronous model was very norm to them. And some of the high school students were not quite as engaged as some of their peers were. And so moving forward, I think we're going to adjust the program starting in the fall to more of an asynchronous model where it's similar to what the E-Academy is currently doing at the Limited Point Development Corporation, where with our high school students, 2 days a week, the students come to that facility and they take our classes, which has continued to be effective even during COVID.
No, that's great. That's great. The timing of from when you start to when you finish, how long does it take to get a certain certification? And are there steps? Do you get a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4? How does that model work, Jonathan?
There are. So there are 2 primary tracks that we're focusing on. CompTIA is one, and then Cisco is another track. Anybody can take any of those for the most part. but there are levels within each. For instance, with CompTIA, it starts with the basics of Network Plus, and then once you understand how networks work and how data flows between this device and other devices, then you move on to the Security Plus. And once somebody reaches a Security Plus level, then they are ready for some form of employment, whether that's an internship, an apprenticeship, or in some cases a full-blown job with a company like ours. To answer your first question, per semester, you can typically knock out one of those courses that I just mentioned. So we have a number of students this year that are on track to hopefully, be able to pass the CompTIA Network Plus certification.
And then they're ready for employment at some lower level.
Well, they're ready for the
An
next
apprenticeship.
level, the Security Plus.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, there may be some companies out there that are hungry enough and willing to pick them up. And then, of course, there are, as we've already experienced with one particular high school student that we were talking to yesterday, just these naturally gifted folks that are high achievers, and yeah, they're ready to go.
They're ready to roll.
Yeah.
What about cost? How is the student accessing the program from a cost perspective now? Is it through the school districts and through the colleges? Is there some sort of tuition assistance out there, or are they simply paying for it?
Well, that's a model that we are still defining. We were fortunate to receive a Pennsylvania grant that helped fund the pilot for this first year. So we're very thankful for that. And then we had a number of local foundations and groups that came alongside to provide matching dollars for that. And so right now there are no costs for any of the students. And it is our hope that for high school and college students that will continue to be the case. There's a lot of things that we need to work out on the back end to make sure that the overall program is sustainable and so that we don't run out of money. And we do have some good programs that we are developing around that.
That sounds great. I mean, I'm so excited to see how this cohort does and
Yeah.
the next one, and you keep building your best practices. I want to go, in the few minutes we have left, Jonathan, just talk about how you were able to build a virtual company. Almost everyone that I've had sitting in that chair that I've interviewed at this program, it's a storefront sticks and bricks building with several employees or several hundred employees, but you've built a virtual company. And how do you keep people connected? And how do you develop a culture? We hear about work culture a lot now. How do you develop that in a virtual setting?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a hot topic coming out of the pandemic right now. Fortunately for me, as I mentioned at the beginning, the career of cybersecurity has been done in many situations remotely for a long time. I've always had some individual or individuals on my team that were working even overseas. And so it's something that we had to figure out a long time ago. But I think the core to it is high touch and coaching and mentoring. And so really, what does coaching and mentoring look like here? I think it really starts with what I call know thyself. And so if you can help individuals know thyself, whether that's through personality tests, interactive training sessions, leadership development sessions, etc., and you're really investing into them at that earliest stage, even if that's an internship or apprenticeship, or especially in those situations, then I think that you are breaking down some walls and building some trust and some credibility that regardless of where they are working at any particular time in their careers or in the world, that you can pick up the phone and have a meaningful conversation, and even if necessary, a hard conversation with them.
And people in that industry are used to being managed that way. So it's not a change.
A lot of them are. Yeah, a lot of them are.
And do you still find the need, Jonathan, to bring them to a central location at some point and have some team building exercises and things like that?
Yeah, we're human at the end of the day, right? And there's no way.
Going back to what you said, it's human. Yeah. It's a human on this end and technology in the middle, and a human on that end, and you need humans to fix it.
There is. I mean, when they talk about the water cooler effect, look, it's real. There is something to it. I don't believe it has to be 8 to 5 Monday through Friday to be around the water cooler to build community and build relationships. But you do have to have some strategic pauses in place to really bring the team together and build, or in some cases rebuild those relationships.
And for ForceNow cybersecurity, that is happening where, in Colorado Springs?
In Colorado Springs, it's going to be happening here at the Pennsylvania Cybersecurity Center. We are really excited about augmenting the core training programs that we have in place with local community events like hackathons and capture the flag events. And these are events that serve a variety of different purposes. But first of all, they're exposing individuals to one flavor of cybersecurity. But then they're also, an opportunity for networking between high school students, college students, and working adults. And I've seen that play out in places like Colorado Springs really, really well. And I'm excited about us doing it here.
That's great. So you're actually looking at what you have going on there as a best practice and bringing it to Pennsylvania and planning it in Hermitage.
Yeah, there are, every community has and needs to have its own flavor on these things. And mapping out the assets and the strategic partners in that community is a really big part of it. But there are definitely some core elements of what I've seen with the National Cybersecurity Center in Colorado Springs, Colorado, that can and are being applied here.
That's great. Someone that's interested in protecting themselves at a higher level than what they are now, and they want to contact you, how do they do that?
They can simply go out to our website, forcenow.com, all one word, FORCENOW.com.
ForceNow.com, and you'll get pricing, you'll get a taste of what you folks can do for them, and then at the end of the day, they can email you or give you a call and talk about what you can do. And I will tell you, this is an endorsement at Penn Northwest, because we deal with a lot of important financial information on behalf of the companies that we help. We decided to go out in the market and try and get cybersecurity insurance, and we were turned down because we didn't have all the checks and balances that we need. So working with you and Reeves Technology, our IT provider, you two have now partnered up here locally to provide some of these services. So,
and we're excited about it.
And I'm excited to have my insurance finally too. So, the price of your product basically partially, almost mostly paid for the savings in the premium for the difference in the premium between not having the product and having it. But John, I could go on for hours about this stuff. I am fascinated by it. I hope through this program we really whet some of the appetites of some of our businesses locally to reach out and get themselves protected, because the price you pay if you're attacked is so high.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Ron. I appreciate this. Appreciate Teal College and the partnership that they bring to the Pennsylvania Cybersecurity Center and this community. And
well, before we sign out, though, I do want to go back to one thing that we haven't touched on air yet, and it just hit me as you were thanking the college. But you said you noticed something unique about your Mercer County experience over the last year that maybe you haven't seen in other markets where you've tried that. Tried this. And what do you think that is?
So, and I'm not the first one to observe this or notice how important it is, but when you're trying to do, as a nonprofit, a community building exercise like this, where you're mapping out the partners in the ecosystem and you're working with businesses and nonprofits and educational partners, if you do not have a solid community support, I mean real support, not just
a letter of recommendation or a letter of support, whatever. But
these things eventually either never make it out of launch phase, and they certainly don't sustain themselves. I don't believe that we are going to have either of those problems here, because from what I've experienced over the last year, we have just tremendous support at all levels. And so we've already had a successful launch with the Pennsylvania Cybersecurity Center, and I'm very confident this will continue to grow, will continue to provide significant workforce and economic development opportunities for the Mercer region.
That's great, John. I tell you, we say all the time to people when we're out in the community that we really do. And one of the things that attracted me to this position is we really do have the right people in the right seats at the right time right now to go fast.
You absolutely do,
And
and I can vouch for that.
sometimes it takes someone from the outside like you to really shine the light on it, but we're thrilled that you did. And we really look forward to having you back next year, and we'll check another box and say, okay, this is where we were last year. Tell us where we're at this year. And it's going to be an exciting opportunity for us to watch. So
Absolutely.
thanks. And I want to thank our audience for watching this edition of Discover Mercer County Business. And again, Jonathan Steenland from ForceNow for now making it in Mercer County. We're producing this show in the state-of-the-art TV and radio studios in the James Pettis Communications Center on Teal College's campus in Greenville. And we sincerely want to thank the students, faculty, and staff who have helped bring this show to life. If you have an idea or a suggestion for a future edition of Discover Mercer County Business, please connect with our Improvement Movement team on our website at penn-northwest.com or give us a call at the office, 724-662-3705. And remember, you can also find out more about Penn Northwest Development Corporation by searching for us on YouTube or connecting with us on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Discover Mercer County Business. I'm Rod Wild, and we will see you again next time.